I'm not the smartest man in the world. I'm not someone who holds all the answers to life's big questions. I don't think you can consider me to be a guru or someone who has the ultimate wisdom, because most of my life has been tripping over myself and wondering what on earth am I going to do. Because I've always believed that I haven't had the most accessible wisdom, and my life has been experience after daft experience, and hopefully, with the cross of my fingers, I might not repeat my past stupidity, although that wish has sometimes been in vain. But I have learnt something, and I continue to learn the importance of relearning this lesson. Using powerful words to describe one's mental position or mental state in order to maintain a level of sanity and utility in the framework of the small space one occupies as an effective human is essential. I'm going to pick on one word today, and I hope you will see the sense and why I'm choosing this word. In fact, I'm going to use a whole phrase to contextualize the word. All of us are affected by circumstances, the behavior of others, and the choices we make ourselves. None of us are immune to life's whole influence. There are complexities and nuances that make up each facet of our lives, forming threads of verbal and non-verbal communication that inform our next decision or action. Information feeds into our conscious and subconscious on a daily basis, second by second, and for this reason, it's important to choose language which clarifies how we speak to ourselves. So let me share with you a phrase I do not use. That behavior, that thing, that person, that action triggers me. That's right. I do not use that triggers me in any way. Why? Whenever I hear somebody use the phrase, that triggers me, in my mind, without judgment, I hear, that's something I haven't dealt with in my life, or I would like to change everybody else's behavior except my own. So when we are talking about effective language, trigger is basically affirming your ineffective tactics or tools that are missing from your arsenal in order to deal with life's problems. If you continue to say that something triggers you and you're waiting for that thing, which is outside of your control, to change, then that thing will always have power over you. My psychotherapist taught me something to recognize the fact when something affects you and upsets you or causes you discomfort. Wait for a moment and let the discomfort do what it has to do. Your discomfort is messaging you and telling you that you are lacking the facility to deal with this particular set of feelings. Once you acknowledge that you are upset by the circumstances or the words or the actions of others, you can park it right there. Then take a step back as if you were looking at the set of emotions as a third person. And then, after regaining your composure, acknowledge that you have some work to do in order to become resilient and capable. Some of the work you will do in order to become more competent will be very long. Some people won't see you or will be incapable of acknowledging that you are doing this much needed work. In fact, some people will be completely unforgiving of your past mistakes or issues and will remember them even though you have long since left them behind. You will find that as you do significant changes in your life, some people will live in your past longer than you ever will. This is part of the resilience process, allowing other people to think what they think about you without it diminishing your confidence. By the way, I'm not saying self-esteem. I'm talking about confidence, and I'll be doing a video about confidence later on. Instead of saying openly that something triggers you, which then negatively affirms your inability to handle life, especially in a public setting, but also then negatively affirms your weakness in an area of your life, which in turn is talking to your subconscious, try replacing that whole phrase with either silence. That's right. Say nothing. Breathe slowly and deeply. Or use the phrase, I see that this affects me negatively emotionally. I must examine why that is and take steps to mitigate that amount of suffering. You'll notice the difference between saying the phrase, that triggers me, and the alternative phrase, which implies I must take action to reduce my own suffering. It places control completely back into your hands and not into the hands of either person or circumstance or even the hands of some thoughtless comment. Quite recently, somebody accused me of being fake. It was a little bit shocking when I thought about it to have someone accuse me of being fake. However, because I acknowledged the fact that that affected me negatively, I had to ask myself the question why. The truth is, according to that person's perception, I appeared to be fake. The moment I acknowledged that there was a reasonable position that this other person could take where I could appear fake, then I felt more comfortable with the idea that perhaps my behavior had shown an inconsistency in how I wanted to be perceived. What you might notice about my thought process is that it put me back in control. It allowed me to examine myself calmly without blaming the other individual for the emotions that I was feeling. Let me clarify. It is perfectly reasonable to be upset, angry, and thoroughly distraught when life and its circumstances are thrown at you, and a lot of the time completely through no fault of your own. My late wife always used the following phrase: "It's not what happens to you that matters. It's what you do next that counts." I've said in a previous video that if we are truly honest with ourselves, we know what area of our lives needs polishing up. Admitting that you are not perfect, admitting that you have work to do in various areas of your life is not weakness, it's strength. It's the commencement of acknowledging that you are vulnerable. There are plenty of areas in my life which need polishing up. In fact, some areas of my life I need to completely restructure and formulate new ways in which to move forward. But I don't say this as some simpering, spineless or toothless invertebrate. I say this because I want you to know that most of the lessons in my life have come through acknowledging how thoroughly lacking in some tools I have been. I believe it was Aristotle who was considered to be the wisest man in the world because he was able to acknowledge very openly how little he actually knew. And so I come to you, I hope humbly, and say I'm a fucking moron, but I'm quite willing to do the work that morons need to do in order to reduce my moronic nature. I hope this thought process will help you think about how you feel you can better handle issues and problems, and that you might think to yourself, actually, you want to take control of your life. It isn't a fix-all and everything workshop that suddenly you overcome every challenge you face overnight. So once again, let's stop using the word trigger. Let's start breathing slowly and deeply and acknowledging that if we see ourselves as the ones we need to work on, we will always be in control eventually. No one else has to change apart from you and me. That's the exciting part. We don't have to wait for us. Whereas we will wait forever if we want others to change for us or to our taste and liking. I'll see you again.